Hello, fellow warriors and peacekeepers. If you are watching this, you are on the path of the Jedi, and this is the way of the Mandalorian. If you don't know me yet, my name is the Mandalorian Jedi, and I'm glad you have come to this channel. Before we go much further, if you like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. We are continuing on our adventure into the topic of lightsabers and onto the first segment for the 7 classical forms of lightsaber contact, beginning with the first form, Shii-Cho. Shii-Cho, also known as the Determination form, or the Way of the Sarlacc, was the first form developed by the ancient Jedi Order, the predecessor of the Jedi Order, when the lightsaber was first created. This form was developed directly with the evolution from sword fighting to the adaptation of the new lightsaber technology. Form 1 has a heavy emphasis on the basics and is the foundation for all the other forms of lightsaber combat. To quote Kreia, "It is simple, and its simplicity is its strength." As previously mentioned, this form is the foundation for all the other forms. It is also the form that is taught to the new initiates to the Jedi Order, or younglings. Shii-Cho is considered so important that to be able to move on to the other lightsaber forms, one must prove mastery of Form 1. Shii-Cho, as the basis for all other lightsaber forms, is considered to be an excellent fallback form in the heat of battle. The form is also considered one of the moderate forms, allowing for a strong all-around form. How do the Jedi learn how to fight with a lightsaber, you may ask yourself? The Jedi practice their katas, which are called velocities. These velocities go through the basics of sword fighting, such as the thrust, parry, dodge, slash, and so on. The Jedi run these velocities so that they end up becoming muscle memory to the point where they don't have to think about them. This is the reason that Shii-Cho is the preferred fallback form in the heat of battle. How do they practice their velocities? They practice these in mock duels against other apprentices or by simply practicing the movements. While practicing the velocities against each other, the younglings also start to learn the marks of contact and the moves that will further their Jedi careers. We will go over the marks of contact later on in the video with diagrams. When practicing the mock duels, the combatants will either continue until the master calls the fight, enough points from marks of contact are hit, or the opponent calls the word for surrender, Sola. Of course, that is not the only important part about a Jedi's lightsaber. The lightsaber is not only the blade of the Jedi, it's also the Jedi Shield and a symbol of the Jedi Order. In a galaxy where a blaster at your side is the standard, you would think that a lightsaber is basically obsolete and would not be useful. However, the Jedi practice deflecting blaster bolts with their lightsabers, as shown in the holovids of Luke Skywalker on the Millennium Falcon. The Jedi learn how to deflect blaster bolts with training probes that shoot weak stun lasers that sting when hit. This was used to prepare for the future lightsaber forms of Soresu and Xi'an, the defensive forms specifically designed to counteract the evolution of blasters and blaster fire. We will discuss these forms in more depth in their own videos. I mentioned the marks of contact earlier. There are 9 different marks of contact according to the Jedi Order training. This does not mean that there are not different areas that could be hit, but the Jedi are disciplined and are symbols as well. We shall now go over the different marks. The first I would like to mention is the best mark to hit for a peacekeeper, Sun Diem. This mark is used to disarm an opponent by destroying a weapon or forcing an opponent to drop their weapon. This is a favored mark for the second form of lightsaber combat, Makashi. Anakin lost one of his 2 lightsabers in the battle with Count Dooku as an example of this mark. The next mark inflicts physical damage to the opponent, but tends to be lesser when compared to the future marks. Xi'an inflicts superficial wounds and is considered to be one of the 2 fundamental marks for a Jedi. Count Dooku used this to end the battle with Obi-Wan for singeing the weapon arm, and later Obi-Wan's leg. If there is an opening for this mark to take it. Moving up the arm is Sho Mai, and this mark is considered to be merciful by the Jedi, a direct move to remove the hand that holds the weapon entirely but leaves the opponent alive. Shosun is not as clean as Sho Mai, but will end a battle rather quickly. Instead of just removing the weapon hand, the entire weapon arm is removed. Luke had this mark inflicted upon him on Bespin during his battle with Darth Vader. This leads to the next mark, Chomak. Chomak involves severing a limb other than the primary weapon arm. This includes legs or other sentient appendages as well. There is a slight distinction between severing one limb and the next mark of contact. Muay Thai involves cutting through multiple limbs at the same time, but this technique is considered forbidden and translates as to dismember. An example of this is the duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar. We are moving into lethal territory of the marks, starting with the second of the fundamental marks, Shiak. Shiak is piercing the opponent with the blade's tip. This would be a thrust or stabbing motion with a lightsaber, preferably piercing a heart. If Shiak cannot be achieved by a Jedi, the next preferred method for handling a dangerous opponent should only be used when Shiak to the heart is unachievable and is something to lament. All life exists in the Force, and as such should be protected if possible. This mark involves severing the head of an opponent from their shoulders. The best example of this are with Anakin killing Count Dooku or Mace Windu beheading Jango Fett during the Battle of Petranaki Arena. This should be a last resort. Saitak is the final mark, and it's another forbidden technique unless you are in battle against droids. This is the mark that Obi-Wan used to defeat Darth Maul, cutting a body into two halves. This is considered forbidden due to its savagery and shows possible underlying dark side emotions. But these marks are only trained and part of the basics taught during Form 1. What topic on lightsaber forms would be complete without displaying what the strengths and weaknesses this form entails? To start with the strengths of Shii-Cho, it is the foundation of all the other forms, allowing for this form to be a solid to fall back on in case of emergency. It may save your life. It is very good against multiple opponents, allowing a Jedi to control the field of battle. This form is also unpredictable and wild, as shown by Kit Fisto stating after losing a battle using Shii-Cho against a Jedi killer. That's a droid for all of you who are uninitiated into a Jedi killer. I should have gone closer to the edge, released myself into the Force, become more unpredictable, more random. Obi-Wan responded, stating, "That would have been risky, not to your body perhaps, but to your spirit." Kit Fisto would then go on to respond, "It is the way of Form 1. Which, with Kit Fisto losing a battle, leads into the next point. What are some of Shii-Cho's weaknesses? Being the first and most ancient form, it is also the most rudimentary and clumsy of the forms, with sloppy blade work. In addition, the form may have evolved from sword fighting, but did not have lightsabers in mind, and as such does not have the solid defenses and attacks that future forms would include with opponents wielding lightsabers. This form is also not well equipped when fighting against opponents with blasters, though it does have limited blaster defenses, being the basis for Forms 3 and 5, respectively. Who would use a form with such diverse weaknesses and strengths, you might ask? Well, some of the famous Jedi you might recognize are all of them. This is the first form taught, and all Jedi have at least basic knowledge of this form. As for masters of this form, we have Sindralig, the Jedi Battle Master, Kit Fisto, the Nautolan Jedi Master, Mace Windu, and Kento Merrick, the father of Starkiller Galen Merrick. Anyways, I had fun researching for these topics and making this video, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. My next video will continue this series with the second form of lightsaber combat, Makashi. Until my next videos, my Mandalorians and Jedi Knights, this is the way to follow the path. May the Force be with you.